Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to How Do You Not Know This, the podcast which we're shocked that you don't know about because...
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice line.
Exactly. I'll tell you the truth. This podcast is amazing. Our numbers are growing, but not fast enough, right? But this is your opportunity to tune in to the show where we talk about things that everybody should know about, but a few people, particularly this comedian over there, Dom Haddonwoods,
Me over here.
has no idea about.
Nope.
And the two elder statesmen, Tony Vino and I, Daliso Chaponda, attempt to tell Dom about these things. We complete the education which the private school system of the UK failed him.
Yeah.
Chilton Cancelo School did not. Carpe diem. Seize the day. That was their slogan.
They didn't.
Was it? Crikey.
Carpe diem.
Yeah. Well, but you know what carpe diem means, so that's...
They told me a lot of times.
They told you enough times.
And it was
that
on my
sank
blazer.
in.
What the fuck does this mean?
Is that the only Latin you got?
Yeah.
I'm a bow, I'm a bass, I'm a bat, nothing.
You're a bat.
You're a bat.
I had
Ergo.
I did a law degree, right, and we did a lot of Latin in that, and there was a guy, right, so there was a phrase in that called res ipsa loquitur, which was it was a legal phrase, which is let the thing speak for itself, right, in terms of like, you know, a legal precedent. Anyway, he sent a Valentine's card to a girl that was in the class as well, and he just said, you know, put a name, res ipsa loquitur. She was like putty in his hands.
That
Really?
worked?
Mm-hmm.
That worked?
Yes.
She was impressed by the Latin.
She was impressed with the
That's
Latin.
not going to
Was
work.
this you and you were seeing how we reacted to it before you admitted it was you?
That is not going to work
it-
on young women of today. You can't walk up to the ad hoc ergo propter hoc, baby. Yeah. It's just not going to work. Not going to work.
I've tried.
We've tried.
I've not
Yes.
tried.
I can't even pick up in English, let alone Latin.
Man. There was
Maybe
an old
Greek.
there
Maybe
was an old
Greek.
saying, wasn't it? You get learn Shakespeare and the ladies will kowtow. The
what?
idea that you learn Shakespeare and you can just quote it.
Well,
But
it's more...
it's impressive.
I've never seen someone quote Shakespeare and thought they're having a lot of sex. I
If
thought
they
I thought they
understand
lived
it.
with their mum.
The idea is if they understand it.
Yeah.
Because he was meant to really understand the humans.
I've never seen anyone quote Shakespeare, to be honest.
If music be the food of love, play on. Boom.
Oh,
there you go.
Trying to avoid those people.
What? You just heard one. You must have heard one. Anyway, you must have heard someone say to be or not to be or something. There's stuff that even people who don't
Never
know
heard
Shakespeare-
that, yeah. And I thought, shut up.
Yeah.
So how's everyone getting on then?
Doing well.
Are you alright, mate?
Yeah.
Doing well. Speaking of Shakespeare, I went to a musical.
Oh, yeah?
of,
Oh, you did?
Called Anne Juliet with
Oh wow.
one of the people I went on pilgrimage with playing William Shakespeare in this musical about...
Whoa. So
which
this is the
follows-
guy that was in the
his
band.
name's Jay.
Jay.
His name's Jay. And
And what band was it again?
Jay McGuinness, he was in Wanted.
Wanted.
And
That
right
was it.
now he's in Anne Juliet. And myself and Steph, who was also on pilgrimage, we went and watched him.
Fantastic.
Was
some
this
monk.
in Nottingham?
No, in Birmingham.
Nice.
It was good.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was fantastic. Dude can sing. I mean,
So it's musical, and then does it go through Shakespeare's life?
no.
then?
It's the plot
not
is
like a
actually
parody.
quite ridiculous.
Oh, is it?
The
Right.
idea is that Romeo and Juliet,
Yeah.
Shakespeare's wife doesn't like how it ends, and so she forces him to make a feminist version where she lives, doesn't kill herself, and goes and so Anne Juliet, what happened
Right.
to her? But he.
Oh, nice.
But there's like a little back
for
and
him.
forth in that he's very bored by her version, and he keeps messing it up and making it more interesting.
I love it. You would think maybe, you know, Shakespeare's wife would read it and be like, "Really? Come on, that's not really." And also, we need more women in the play.
That's the entire.
Is it?
that's-
Yeah, it's the
that's
whole premise.
Anne Juliet. That's Anne Juliet.
Because what was it?
Well, not just that. It has trans people. It has like gay people. It's modern stuff put into the Juliet narrative.
nice. 'Cause
Plus songs from Backstreet Boys and Britney Spears. It's insane, but
it.
it's a lot of fun.
I love it because it was George R. R. Martin, the guy that wrote Game of Thrones. His wife said, "You can do anything to any of the characters, but you can't let Arya die." And she's the one that saves the whole thing, kills all the White Walkers at the end.
And you went all the way to Birmingham for this?
Say that again?
You went all the way to Birmingham for this?
Yeah.
And then came back?
Yeah.
That's traveling.
You travel to what?
To gigs?
Yeah.
But people pay me to do that usually.
Yeah, but if
No.
you'll travel for a gig, you'll travel for a friend.
Depends how good the friend is.
Depends on the friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
For a woman, she's a woman.
Maybe just for a show, like to go. If it's local, you might not. But yeah, have you not got any friends that you might go? I'll go. I'll
I've
travel
got it
and
for
see
you.
someone.
If there's some big golf game
Yeah,
with the best golfers in the world.
I'd go and watch golf. Yeah,
Yeah.
There we go.
There you go.
but I love golf. You don't love. Why are we getting into a debate about what you did on the weekend?
I was just telling you, and then you're like, "Why did you go?
Well,
you
you've
shouldn't
gone
have
for it.
done this.
You shouldn't have done this. I object."
With your anti-Birmingham sentiment. So well, should we crack on then?
Let's
Should
get
we
going.
commence?
Let's get going.
We've come together. So me and Daliso thought, what should we talk about this time, right? And we thought, you know what? You will know about this.
How
But
how long does it take for you guys to? Do you have a call and then go?
We have a call. We have a call.
Texted.
He pitched something which I thought wasn't interesting enough,
right.
and I thought we'd
Thanks,
argue.
mate.
We'd argue because it's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
debatable. So
Yeah.
I was like, "How about this other thing? We'll see if it's interesting. If it's boring, we should have gone with his."
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to this one flopping.
Was it last
yeah.
week where you two got into the debate about, or was that the other week? That
It was
wasn't
2
last
weeks
week.
ago.
2 weeks
Conspiracies, yes.
Ago. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so if we had done the debatable one, I was like, we'll just end up arguing and he'll end up confused.
I think I thought that was good.
It was good, though.
It was easy for me.
Yeah, do you want to step out
This
while the adults in the room chat?
This week, you've definitely heard of it.
You said that-
just
you
wonder,
said this last week though.
we
No, you
wonder
will.
how much you've heard
Yeah,
of.
you'll know the title, but we just want to almost pick out right. It's basically in the
I reckon.
European English.
So here's some questions.
Can we stop assuming I know stuff?
Okay.
That's the
You
reason
won't know
we
about
started.
Well,
this.
we're building up. We're
Have
building
you
up
heard
tension.
anything if I said the round table?
Yeah, the round table.
What do
What's
you
the round
think
table?
Well, that my head goes to like a writers' round table where a load of writers meet
Okay.
Very good.
and write,
good.
or at the actors' round table, similar.
But-
concept.
Okay,
in-
they're all imitating something. You don't know.
Yes. So
Okay.
So it's
If I said sword in the stone.
sword in the stone.
Feels like that sounds impossible.
Okay.
Sword wouldn't go into a stone.
Maybe he doesn't know it.
No, he will. He will. Okay.
Are we on history right now?
No.
Well, not really history.
We're in mythology.
Mythology.
Okay.
But
right.
British.
I don't know what
British
that means.
mythology. Do you? Pardon?
British. I know what that means.
Yeah,
Mythology.
Do you know what a myth is?
like
myth-
a
Mr.
the man, like a yeah,
Mythos.
like a myth, like
It's
a
a
rumor.
story.
A rumor.
Essentially.
Yeah, it's sort of like it's like a story which it's like history, but people like it probably didn't happen. Often gods are running around, or there's magic or stuff like that.
Yeah.
King Arthur.
Yeah.
What do you
guy.
know about King Arthur?
There's a king. Name was Arthur.
Nice.
That's about it.
That's about it. Interesting.
Do you know? So do you know some of the characters in this mythology? Like, was he real? for
King
starters?
Arthur?
Yeah.
Probably was one of them.
Yeah. What about he had a wizard?
Who
friend?
did?
Arthur.
Did he?
Yep.
Hmm.
He did.
Where do we get those?
So, well, I'm sure they met down the pub or something like that. But basically, so Merlin. Have you heard of Merlin? You've never heard
Do you know
of
what I
Merlin?
enjoy about doing this? So is that you are such a calm, loving man, but I can see you real
Just
close to the
like
edge.
what is going on?
Because we've got so far in, and what people need to realise, he's not faking
He's
it.
not
right?
faking it.
He's never.
I often think he's faking it. He's not faking
He's
it.
literally not faking it.
Okay, so to summarize. Okay.
Summarize. We just started.
Well, if we're going to try to make it, there's loads of British stories.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not one story. There are loads of stories told about a time when there was a king, King Arthur, who was king of the Brits.
King of the Britons.
Quick on the Britons.
And he
he
fought
was
off-
very noble. He was very noble. He was like the greatest king ever. He had knights, the Knights of the Round Table.
Right.
And there's stories about them. So there's a story of Sir Lancelot. There's a
Lancelot.
story of, have you heard
Sir
Lancelot?
Gawain.
Sir Gawain?
Percival.
Lancelot. Sounds like a brag. Lancelot.
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 Yeah.
Lancelot.
Lancelot du
But anyway, he had like just a team of cool guys with him. And the thing is, it's not one story. There are probably like 500 stories about that time when King Arthur was the greatest king ever. He had a sword called Excalibur,
Right.
which was the sword in the stone. But as a comedian, have you ever come across Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
I know another comedian called Monty.
Monty.
I
That's
think
close
this is
enough.
separate.
One of the. Do you know? What was their name? The guys who made it.
It was so flipping out. It's Monty Python. So you had
I've heard that's a play. People probably
No. There's a
TV series.
yes, but the
guy that
TV
did
series.
Faulty Star, John Cleese.
John Cleese and all of that.
Oh yeah, the Faulty Towers guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those
Yeah, yeah.
guys. So they did one of their movies. They did Life of Brian. Oh, they were called Monty Python.
Yeah,
right.
that was the whole
That
thing.
was their sketch group.
Yeah.
And one of the sketch groups they did was doing all the Arthurian legends, but with
Yeah.
jokes. It's very funny. It's very funny.
Right.
But I probably don't recommend it because you kind of part of the funniness of it is that you kind of know something about
You know the
legend.
stories that
But
they're
then now
making
we've
fun
had
of.
this episode. I mean, you look absolutely fascinated because the thing is right.
Do you know
It's-
any mythology? Is there any mythology that you remember from when you were younger?
No,
Did you not watch cartoons?
I've been trying to get into stoicism recently.
Oh, well, that's great.
Did I tell anyone about this?
No,
Alright,
but
so-
that is not the philosophy I think would work with you. You're more
Yeah.
hedonism.
Yeah.
The fuck is that?
So stoicism is the
Is
opposite.
that Hindu?
So
No,
no,
that's
so
Hinduism.
Stoicism is you try to pare down your life.
Yeah.
Try to live simply.
Yeah.
Try not to have as much sex as you want. Try to do like pare things down.
Yeah, going.
Hedonism is the opposite. Eat as much as you want. Have sex
this is
with
great.
50 partners.
Tell us about stoicism.
I think I live pretty minimalist.
That's because you ain't got any money. Right? don't be making out you're freaking Socrates here, right?
It's not a choice. It's not a choice. Now you're getting that TikTok money. You're
Got
going to
that at
start
home.
living it up.
Got that.
But if you're a true Stoic,
If I had
emotionally,
money,
you won't.
I would be buying stuff
You
probably.
You'd be going around in a
So
jag
anyway,
right
look,
now.
I've been
Yeah, tell us-
reading. There's a book written by a bloke called Marcus Aurelius.
Marcus Aurelius, yeah. What was Marcus Aurelius? He was famous for.
Stoicism.
He had a really big job.
Meditation.
No, that
In the Roman Empire.
in the Roman Empire, he was
The bricklayer.
Have you watched Gladiator?
No.
Oh.
a philosopher emperor.
Oh really?
Yeah, Marcus Aurelius.
I thought he was still alive.
He's in the Gladiator. You know.
Is he a real person?
He was. A
He
real
was,
person.
but he's dead.
Yeah,
Long ago.
long time. The Roman Empire's gone ages ago. But yeah, that's amazing. So you read Marcus Aurelius. So
Wait,
that-
so I've got a book called
Yeah.
365 Days of Stoicism,
yeah.
where every day they give you a different note.
Okay.
And my mate, who's a monk, gave it to me, and
Makes sense now.
He wrote in it,
Makes sense now.
and anyway, so I was speaking to him, and I said to him, he wakes up. He's in Thailand at the minute. He wakes up at 4 a.m. I said, "Do you not struggle to wake up?" And he goes, "Well, I sleep on the floor, so it's quite nice to get off the floor, really." Anyway, so I was good. I had work the next day, and I was in bed, and I was really gonna. I couldn't sleep. I was really gonna struggle to get up. So I thought, I'm gonna struggle to wake up and make it to work. I'm gonna sleep on the floor. So I got my pillows, my duvet,
Yeah.
slept on the floor, and I thought it looked like I'd had an argument with myself.
Keep yourself,
Myself
out of bed.
Did that for 15 minutes, thought, fuck this, and then went back to bed and had a wank.
Yeah. That was in book 4 of Marcus Aurelius's Passions there. Yeah. There's a bit.
Whenceforth the sleeping does not work, wanketh.
There is a really good bit in that. I forget where in the book, but he does this bit. He goes and says, "Have you read the bit where he goes, every day you will meet with people." And he starts reading off all the their petty vices and today you'll meet with people who will blame you for
Jealous
this and da.
yes.
And he says he basically says do not let it affect you, as in you, and it's the whole thing about where's your center of your emotion. Is it on the outside and how people treat you, or is it on? And he would have had a lot of that because he had a lot to do, didn't he? I mean, you struggled getting out of bed, but he was running. He was running the known world at the time. But yeah, so that was quite good. So that was the whole thing about stoicism. Don't let the outside situations affect you, but find your centre. What else have you learnt from it?
That's good you haven't got any money. So I've been reading that, and then I watched a video about Because I tend to worry about stuff that hasn't even happened yet. Like I'm convinced.
Oh, the future.
I'm convinced my boss is going to fire me. Never been insinuated in any sense.
Okay.
I mean,
No, but that's human. It's human
yeah,
to have anxiety about stuff that
it's also
might
an
not happen.
educated guess as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that had any sense?
Good point. It's a good point. It's a good point.
Give it time. Come on.
He's fucking loving this today. It's a roast of tomato wood.
We don't need AI for that.
Yeah. And so I watched a video by a chap called Eckhart Tolle.
Eckhart Tolle, yeah.
And he was talking some shit about worrying.
That's brilliant. He was talking some
He was chatting some shit about stuff about meditating and that. I do meditate actually, 2 minutes a day.
2 minutes.
Better than how much are you doing?
Well, I pray.
Eckhart Tolle.
How long?
Usually around 5 to 10 minutes.
Fair enough. 5 to 10 minutes. Did what you did to me.
What's he do an impression of Eckhart? I remember I listened to him a few times. What is he? He talks very kind of
You
like,
really slowly. Come on, man. I've got places to be.
He you know how he started out? He was sat on a bench once, and he was worrying about, and he was so wrapped in anxiety, and then it's almost like something popped in his head because he was so
Anxious.
And then he decided to not worry about the future or the past, and that was his
I mean,
thing.
that's
That's
fine.
not
It's
a very
easier.
persuasive origin story, because usually the wise people are like,
Not quite
I
Batman,
went
is
through
it?
extreme grief and
Yeah.
then I came to these realizations. But him is like, I was just worried, man.
worried a
I was
lot.
just worried, and I was tired of being worried.
Yeah, but he does it in a really slow German accent, which I think.
was tired
He's German, is he?
Yeah. No, he's probably not.
being worried. Actually, I don't know why I'm translating.
You've just
He
been
sounds like Arnold
slow.
Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, it's slow.
But my mate who's a monk actually isn't loving being a monk at the minute.
Of course, it's so hard life. I'm surprised he lasted so long.
He doesn't like. He says.
The authority and
He said no. He says that these other monks, if they weren't monks, they'd just be. I think he said that they're monks just an excuse to do nothing. He said if they weren't monks, they wouldn't be doing. They wouldn't be the discipline that they say they are.
Yeah,
Interesting.
So
What about him? Does he think he's a proper monk though?
no, he's
A
kind of
monk
one
surrounded by
foot in, 1 foot out.
Monkish.
He often sends me episodes of the Joe Rogan podcast to listen to, and I think this isn't what.
That's not.
This isn't on the monthly
That's
list.
not
is
on
it?
the monk reading list.
I think
But
he's
look,
doing it
I
wrong.
think that's what monasteries are for. If you're
What, listening
lost,
to Joe Rogan?
no, if you're lost and you don't really know what you want to do, he's figuring it out.
Yeah.
Well, you know, getting back to like the
He could be
the Arthurian legend, that was the whole thing about myth generally, though. This was sort of pre-literate society, so you had times, you know, these myths were helping people go through the great dramas of life, right? And so the whole thing was about the quest for the Grail, right? That's an interesting, like, so the idea of the Grail, what, you know,
He doesn't know what the Grail is.
do you know the quest for the Holy Grail?
Carry on. I reckon.
Okay, so
No, tell me.
it was a metaphor, I suppose. It was all about, because this was all in Christian Britain at the time, and obviously it came over from France as well, that guy, and you know all these French romances and all
No,
that.
but the Grail-
basically, the Grail was the cup that Christ drank out of at the Last Supper.
And the idea was it has magical powers.
Yeah,
You might have watched when you were young Indiana Jones.
Indiana
the
Jones and the Temple of Doom, isn't
No,
it?
the Last Crusade.
And the Last Crusade. That's it.
I can't remember it though.
Okay, but in it they're looking for the Holy Grail because they believe if you drink from it you'll live forever. Right?
Yeah.
Or different myths have different it's always magical. Sometimes they say it'll heal you, sometimes it'll make you, but either way, the people who were guarding it or looking for it are knights of King Arthur.
Because this is all from like medieval Europe, where like iconography was really big, you know, like and having you know things like cups and little shards of like little bits of wood. They might say it might have come from the true cross, or they'd have like a vial of blood from a saint, and like, you know, I've been out to you know, Hungary, and they've got like the the saint that was the saint that helped establish Hungary, and they've got his little withered hand in a church in a box, covered in gold and all this. And so they used to get like these little icons out, before a battle or at different times of year. So it's like a big thing. But the whole thing was, it was like the drama of life, So like the quest for the Grail was the quest to find meaning in life. Incredible.
But also, there's so many of these stories. It's almost like it was like their Marvel movies, right? Because there'd be a storyteller would come and tell one story about a knight of the Round Table. Then tomorrow, another storyteller tells about a different knight, but some of the characters are the same.
Let's tell it. You know what? Let's go old school. Let's tell him a story each, right? See how you think about this. I'll do a very quick one for you, right? We'll do Parsifal. Right? Have you heard of Parsifal? You heard of Parsifal?
Why asking me? Parsifal.
Right. Parsifal.
Percival,
right? It's a beautiful one, right? And see what you get. Because often these stories, they're full of imagery, right? And then it jumps out to you in terms of like,
You're making it hard for yourself to tell the story.
Right, here we go.
You're big-upping the story before you tell the story. It's got great imagery.
Try and think, how does this remind you? Okay, so Parsifal's... his father was a knight, but he never knew his father, right? So his knight was injured, okay, and injured in the loin, okay, all right.
The loin,
the dick. Yeah, thanks very much.
Look, Tony, we know sworn on the podcast.
He was trying to class it up as a loin.
So his mother, so his mother, right?
As if you had to translate it to another language.
Google Translate. So his mother didn't.
So he's injured in the dick.
Yeah.
The father, but don't worry about the father. The father's gone.
Yeah.
Okay, and isn't involved in his life.
Where's he gone?
Don't worry about that.
Right.
Okay, right. His mother brought up Parsifal, but she wanted to keep him from a life of knightly conquest and all that kind of stuff. Okay, when I say knightly conquest, I mean being a knight, not what you do. Right. Okay. Here we go. So yeah, so I've probably roasted you there. So she brought him up in a forest. Right.
Yeah.
But then but he never had a name. He didn't know his name at that time. Right. So then these knights turned up, 3 knights, and he was absolutely mesmerised by him. He was about sort of 14 at the time. And he thought they were gods, and he was like, "Where are you from?" And he was like, and they basically talked to him, and he became a squire for them, right? And he went with them, and the whole thing was, as the story moves up. But his mum was so distraught that he left. She basically fainted and she died. Okay, right now I won't do the full story, but basically as it moves on, he becomes a knight of the Round Table. But his mother gave him instructions. Said, whenever you've got to ask the right question. If you meet, if you meet a gentleman, you always ask him. There's a certain inquiry you've got to ask him, and there's other things in terms of living nobly. So, but then he was then mentored by a knight, and that knight said, "Look, don't ask too many questions." So he was given 2 different instructions. So he met a person called the Fisher King, or the Grail King, right? Who was a king who had an injury in his loin, also known as the
dick.
Thank you. Right. So this king couldn't ride a horse, couldn't lead the country, and all that kind of stuff. But to make himself feel better, every so often he'd fish, and he met Parsifal out in the boat, and then he invited him back from dinner. He came back, and then that's when these 3 maidens brought out these 3 icons, right? And one of them was the Grail, right? And this guy Parsifal felt like he wanted to ask, what is that, and all the rest of it, and what's wrong with you, and all these kind of things. But basically, the moment passed, and woke up in the morning, and everyone had gone. Right, and then turns out I think it was his cousin or his sister met him the next day and said, "Look, you failed to ask the question of the Fisher King, and the question you would have asked him would have healed him, and would have healed the land, and you never did." And then so basically he feels terrible. He goes off. He fights the Red Knight. He wears the Red Knight's armor. He goes questing for 5-6 years, and then eventually he does ask the question, which is, "To whom does the Grail serve? And what ails you, my king?" And that heals the king, and then that makes the world better, and eventually apparently he becomes a monk and all that kind of stuff. But that's one of the stories.
And there are lots of stories.
There's
like
loads
that.
of them like that.
I got nothing from that.
You got nothing from
It
that?
was too much information.
Too much information?
What about?
Okay, you need a simpler one.
Okay.
Yes. Or summary of that.
Well, there was a couple of things there, wasn't there? Like the idea that, the idea of him wanting to find out who he is, and the thing about destiny, that something about being a knight was in him, but the ability to ask the right question can be healing. That's an interesting one. But also interesting that his father and the king both had the same wound. So like the sort of archetypical mythology of like who he was and destiny to be rejoined with his family.
I've got one that's so simple.
So simple.
It's been a Disney movie.
Oh wow.
Right.
Disney cartoon.
Yeah.
A little boy who's an orphan.
Oliver Twist.
A different one.
All right.
Not Harry Potter either. There are many orphans in stories. Okay. Do you know why there are many orphans in stories? Because if you're writing a story for the kids, I've written a book for kids. It's a nightmare if their parents are around, because the parents come and save them.
Yeah.
Right.
So it makes it so much easier if you're like, the parents are dead. But there's an orphan. He doesn't know who his parents are. And one day he's in the village, and there's a sword stuck in a stone. And written next to it is like, the only person who can pull out this sword will be the King of England. And everybody's trying to pick it up. Every single person, big guys with giant muscles are trying to pull it. And they're like, you can't pull it out. You can't pull it out. And then when no one is looking, this kid goes and pulls out the sword like it's the easiest thing ever. And that's how he discovers that his father was the ex-king. And when the king was attacked, someone whisked him away and ran away with him. So he's grown up thinking he's just a normal kid, but he's actually the king to be. And that kid is Arthur. Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Bit shorter.
Yeah.
Bit shorter.
Bit more
And then, but he doesn't know who his dad is.
yeah.
He doesn't know who his mom is. So eventually he sleeps with this woman and finds out she's his sister. Right? Because he didn't know she was his sister.
Not only that, it's she's married to someone else as well.
Yes.
So he commits adultery and
then
incest.
she has an evil kid, because the idea is a child born of incest will be evil.
yeah.
Right.
So that guy's called Mordred, who eventually kills his own father.
But honestly, they're like 100 stories, so we can't tell you all of them.
Do you know
but
all of these then?
I know
Most of them.
lots of
A
them.
lot of them.
I know lots of them because they are.
And the kind of
They've been around.
and they're
They've
in
some
common-
are movies, some are books, some are.
Well, you think about Star Wars, and you think about Darth Vader and
But
Luke Skywalker.
You've watched Star Wars? No.
Yeah, ages ago.
And so Luke Skywalker kills his father and that kind of thing. These are sort of like that comes the sort of through the mythical line.
I know you like Breaking Bad.
I love Breaking Bad.
Think of that. You've probably watched 60 episodes of Breaking Bad. Have you watched Better Call Saul?
Yes.
That's more. So it's like
120 episodes. Or
so.
something.
So that's 120 episodes of stuff you've in this world, right? And I think there's one more, right?
No.
That follows the.
There's a film. El Camino.
A film. El Camino. So it's the same sort of thing. They're just loads and loads of stories which were told and are all interconnected. The way that all the different episodes of Breaking Bad are connected. So we remember them because over the years you've listened to them.
Not as good as Breaking Bad, obviously.
It's arguable.
I mean, they were
I think they're better.
probably better. Yeah.
But what's Vince Gilligan involved?
They've lasted, 500 years? They've lasted a long time.
But they're not on Netflix. Are they?
Longer, yeah.
Probably
They
are.
are on Netflix. There's several versions. There's Mists of Avalon. There's First Night. There's so many stories of the
A Knight's Tale. It's all on there.
show there.
It's fantastic. Honestly, we should sit down and,
We should. I actually think you might enjoy one if you watch one of the good ones,
I
because
was going
there's
to
so
watch
many.
Game of Thrones at some point.
I mean, it's good, but that's a lot of episodes.
there's a film called The Green Knight.
It's
Like
one
that.
movie.
That's one movie, 2 hours, and it's really good. And it's the idea that,
Don't tell him anything other than what.
No, go on. Give me
Yeah.
a bit of...
Okay.
I suppose it's because a lot of it is about like you're developing character, and so by the end of it, it's like he has to face a trial at the end, and he faces the trial, and he faces death, but actually it is the doorway to life for him.
There is something interesting I like about the fact that you're British, and a Malawian is telling you about
Right
the
here.
Arthurian legends of your country.
You're British now, though.
This is true.
So
This is why I'm British, because I know the British
This
myths and legends.
we might take the citizenship off you, to be honest.
Learn more about your people. No, but it's also like, people get knighted now, but they don't slay dragons or any of the stuff that it used to be the dragons used to have to have done heroic feats. Now it's like you wrote some catchy song.
That was a cool
Sir
bit
Elton John.
in the pilgrimage that you were in, where they knighted,
they
whacked it with a sword.
sword.
Bang!
I think I should get knighted.
I am now a member of the Bruderschaft. Yes, it's a brotherhood of they just
Shafters.
message me every month asking for money.
Oh, really?
But still, I'm a member of the Bruderschaft.
Do you send it them?
Yeah, it's not much. And also it's like, if ever I'm traveling in Europe, they've got places you can go. It's like being in the Rotary Club or something, but it's more, I don't know. I get persuaded, join this.
You just like giving people money, I think, sometimes.
No. They do charitable stuff with it. They help people with the money. It's not like they take the money and...
Yeah,
I'm going to start a group and email you asking for money.
bring
and I'll
out.
tell you about it.
Yeah, you can knight him with. You wouldn't use a sword though, would you?
Dildos.
Yeah, I was about to say. I was going to go with that
You just
joke,
didn't
but then
wanna
I just
say
didn't
it.
want to say it. I was like, I didn't want to.
You say that, but he's not very kinky. You're very horny, but you're not very kinky.
I'm very vanilla, yeah.
I say that because we were once in a car and with Karen, and we were talking about stuff, and you kept being shocked.
Did I?
And we're like, wow, he's so vanilla.
A girl did hit me during sex once. That upset me. Slapped me on the face. I thought, well,
Just
yeah, just went, oh, what the fuck?
Everyone's a critic.
I'm just gonna say that's a little hot sometimes.
No, it was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. Do I hit her back or what?
No. You
Obviously, I'm joking, obviously.
Yes, indeed. That's
We
the
could
question.
fight.
You know, they start out like radio kind of pro.
It's not
Today-
S&M. It's like a full fight.
Yeah, get into a ring. And
Today, during sex, if you get hit, do you hit them back? Phone in with your answers. Yeah, I think you do. Cool.
Anyway,
Well,
so
I
that's
feel
a quick
we feel
summary of
enriched.
the Knights of the Round Table, stories of King Arthur.
And go on. Can you remember from the beginning what was the wizard called? Expelliarmus.
Malcolm.
Malcolm. Exactly. Well done. You see, we've all
Close.
learned. We've
Merlin.
learned
Is that what it
something.
was?
Merlin.
So
I
close.
I knew it was an M.
It was ancient British for Malcolm, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Avalon was the thing. Now you know, like
What?
there's a
Well,
you like
the
this.
comedy
There's a
agency.
comedy agency called Avalon,
It's based
and
on-
it's
that's
based
why.
on
Because the
land,
idea was there's a magical land
Mm-hmm.
where you go to after you die. All the knights go to Avalon.
yeah.
And so when they're naming their comedy agencies, they're like, we make stars. We make you like the Knights
Oh,
of the
right.
Round
Yeah.
Table. We are Avalon.
Well, they also take ages to pay. So
Yeah,
anything to do with that?
that's mythical payments coming through. Well done, Dom. You did
Excellent.
really well.
That's it then, is it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just what do we need? Any messages for our
Yes.
sponsors?
If you enjoy this, subscribe.
Oh, I got sent Iron Brew from Instagram. Sent me a case of their new flavour, and I said, "Do you want to sponsor our podcast?" And I said no.
Okay.
Well, they said we've not any cases left. So
How much
I
Iron
would-
Brew did they give you?
just 4 cans, and for some reason,
Have you drunk them all?
do you want? I've got one left. Do you want it?
We can
That's
drink an
nice.
Iron Brew.
Let's do it.
And for some reason,
Oh, but wait, they said they're not going to sponsor.
Iron Brew, and for some reason, a pair of snorkeling goggles. How much do they think I'm going to drink?
Put it into a chalice, and that'll be like, we could do it sort of mythically. Be like, the Holy Grail, that we've finally
It's
found.
Iron
It's
the
Iron Brew.
unholy grail. The Scottish grail.
Yeah. All right, that'll do.
Excellent.
Cheers,
Join the
guys.
Patreon, like, subscribe, all of that.
And we are all doing all sorts of projects. So you can... I'm Daliso Chaponda. If you put my name in, you'll find stand-up comedy and stuff I've done.
Yeah, I've got videos on Instagram about messaging girls when I was 14.
And they're very funny.
And
They're-
also I do stand-up, and that's all right as well.
I will say they are very funny. The stories of you messaging girls. It's hard to watch. Have you watched
No,
them?
I've not. I need to
Oh,
watch
you
this.
cringe, but you can't look
I'm
away.
looking forward
I'll
to
send you
this.
one.
Please
Yeah.
do. Please do.
I'm not surprised they're doing well because I was just like, oh no. I was living vicariously through it.
What have you got
Love
going
it.
on, mate?
Just
if you're on
get
a cruise anytime soon.
So, yeah, if you're on a cruise anytime soon, just get on TonyVino.co.uk. It's got all my dates in there.
Has
so
it?
I'll be, yeah, I've got it. Yeah, I keep it up to date now.
Do you? All right, good for you. No one
I told
comes,
you a
but
few weeks ago.
Fantastic.
all right, bye.
See ya.
Bye.